We've got ourselves a new mythic in Umenath. Umenath down here is very much a PvP stylist, not so much an event order person. She is very good at doing tons of lethal damage, so if you've run teams that had like Web Spinner in it for instance, or you've heard me talk about triple skull damage on burning enemies with certain classes, Umenath kind of fits that bill. So she's kind of like a weird version of like a Zool and a Ketris mixed into one, but isn't as good as either, is kind of my conclusion on this. So when it comes to the skull piece, she's putting Hunter's Mark on people right when you hit them with skulls, so this will apply first, and then it'll do the double skull damage from the Hunter's Mark, so that part's fun. She's agile, which gets her 20% skull dodge, which is also fun. And then she's gaining 4 attack every single time you do 4 or more gem matches. So her attack is going to be ramping pretty aggressively. She's Hunter's Marking people when she hits them with skulls, so she's pretty much always doing double damage unless the person's impervious. So all of this stuff makes her web spinner-y, if you will. And then the spell thing is kind of this mix of a Ketris and a Zool, so the damage that they're doing is boosted by all of the enemy skills. Pretty much every single time you cast her, if the enemy is unharmed, you're going to hit them down to like nothing, but you won't kill them. You always have to hurt them a little for her skill to actually kill them. But then when you do kill them, if you kill them, you gain 10 attack, and then you create 12 skulls. So the damage output is Ketris-ish, and then the skull creation piece is kind of Zool-ish. So she kind of fits in this weird role where she's very much PvP viable, but it is hard to build around her since she's a mythic and she's running 3 different mana colors. It's a little complicated. However, I did create a handful of teams that we can run on through. Overall, I would say Umenath's placement as far as mythics go, she's probably sitting somewhere in like the mid area, maybe like slightly upper mid. I'd probably say like maybe low B is my general impression, at least for now. But let's run through some teams and talk about Ms. Umenath. Starting with a Guild Wars viable team on Green Day, this is taking advantage of the Archer class Leaf Storm start, and then Glitterclaw to create even more green, and then of course we have some way of creating skulls with Doomglaive. It is a little hard to get Doomglaive up, however if you do get the right kind of alignment, Glitterclaw will absolutely feed you a ton of green. So the hope here is that you pop off Leprechaun, you get all the greens in the world, you start doing cool stuff with Glitterclaw, and then as you're doing all that stuff, Umenath is just punching people down as you run on through. This team is not necessarily the most reliable on the planet. I'm not the biggest fan in Guild Wars of using a team that depends on Leprechaun popping the board to get some kind of like lucky gem fall from the top. Not the highest probability of this working super well, but it is viable, it does work, it does win. You will have no cleanse option on this kind of a team, so absolutely keep that in mind. But this team, Guild Wars, ready to go. This team also for Green Day Guild Wars, this is going to be using Tai-Pan in the Sunspear class to basically get tons and tons and tons and tons of red mana. So Umenath will be full pretty much constantly. And then if you ever do happen to get mana for Essence of Evil, you will be very happy from that capacity. This team again is a little bit of a crapshoot since we are going to be aggressively creating red mana with this team lineup, but only one person in the team actually needs red and they're not loopable per se in and of themselves. This team will again be viable, but not necessarily the strongest. What makes this somewhat better than the team I showed before in certain situations is that since we're running Sunspear, the Freeze and Entangle start will definitely help you be able to get this running. But it is very strong mana generation since the Possessed King is going to obviously blow up the board a ton every time you do a 4 or 5 match, and it's Sunspear, so it'll always be raining down reds from the sky. So very loop heavy. If you ever do get off Essence of Evil, it's a good time. But this team, also a potential candidate for Guild Wars Green Day. This team, also Green Day, is taking advantage of the fact that Umenath is a Divine type, so since it's Divine we're going to be running a Priest with a Forest Guardian and a Mercy, all Divine troops with the Divine Protector weapon, which is creating a mix of yellow and red. Mercy is here to try and kick things off with a Forest Guardian. Forest Guardian and Mercy fight each other a little bit for mana since Mercy is converting away purples. Forest Guardian likes to turn purples into skulls, so it's not the easiest to get these two to talk very well. However, it is again very aggressive and useful. However, once you kind of do your initial loop, you'll have a little bit of a struggle getting it going from there. So this team can be extremely potent. As far as Guild Wars overall with Umenath, I would probably say you don't really want to pull out an Umenath team for Guild Wars. All of these feel a little bit gimmicky to me, but they are potentially here, so if you did happen to pull an Umenath, you're not really proud of any of the Green Day's Guild War teams you have, all 3 of these are potentially viable. However, I would say there are better alternatives that you could find in my Green Day Guild Wars video if you so desire. For general PvPing, however, if you don't care about Guild Wars, Umenath can be really fun. So this is, again, taking advantage of the fact that we've got a Sunspear class constantly raining down reds, we've got Possessed King, so any 4 or 5 match is just going to loop the board like crazy, but now we have a Skull Converter that takes red themselves, and this is an ability to create even more red mana with the Sky Hero weapon. This team is extremely fun to use. Again, you don't have any kind of cleanse, so that's where Umenath is kind of constantly falling short. You can't really run Umenath with any kind of cleanse lineups that I've found to be overly effective. However, this team, super fun to smash on through your enemies. You set it up once and you knock it down with Sekhma, and then things just kind of go bananas from there. And rounding out the teams that we could be using on PvP, again, it's a Divine kind of version, so we're taking advantage of Divine Ishbaala and Qilin both being Divine types. Divine Protector here to help us get tons of mana, and Umenath in there just to beat the crap out of stuff. So again, Umenath as a frontliner is extremely strong. This team will kind of loop itself like crazy, and with Umenath as the person up top kind of being your skull damage dealer, it's going to be pretty darn sick. Damage output is going to be pretty nice. So there we have it, the PvP specialist in Umenath. Pretty interesting teams that you can build with them. You know, in terms of the spell is very potent, pretty cool. Not as cool as Zool, not as cool as Ketris, but still pretty darn cool. Not necessarily going to be used for events, kind of hard to build around, but if you can put the right kind of teams with Umenath, in PvP and Guild Wars context, she can be pretty damn lethal. Overall, I'd say she'd probably rank as like a low B tier mythic. You're not going to be crying if you don't have one, but if you do have one and you like PvP, you're gonna have a good time. That's all I got for you guys on Umenath. I hope to see you in a future stream, hope to see you in future videos. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!